Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the next lecture in the electricity in daily use. Today we'll be starting the sixth lecture. So in this lecture, I'll be discussing another passive elements that are capacitors and inductors. I'll start from the capacitors. As you know that along with the resistance, this capacitor is also a passive element. It is designed to store the energy in the electrostatic field. So this is also a most common electrical component. It is extensively used in electronics, communication, computers, and power systems. They are used in tuning circuits of radio receivers, dynamic memory elements in the computer system. Capacitor typically constructions as shown in here. You can see it over here. We have two plates. They are separated by a distance of d. The plates have an area of a, and they are separated, or the separation is filled with a dielectric with a permittivity E. This is the typical layout of a capacitor. So the capacitor consists of two conducting plates separated by insulator or a dielectric. So usually these two plates may be made of aluminum foil, and the dielectric may be made of air. It may be ceramic, maybe paper or mica. When this voltage source is connected like this across the two plates of the capacitor, it deposits a charge, positive charge on one plate and negative charge on another plate. So the capacitor is used to store the electrical charge. The amount of charge stored, that is represented by Q, is directly proportional to the applied voltage, so that this Q will be given by C into V. So we can see the amount of charge that is stored by the plates of the parallel plate capacitor or any type of capacitor depends upon the, you can see it is directly proportional to the voltage that is applied across its plates. So in the form of equation, it is this Q is equal to the CV, where C is a proportionality constant known as capacitance of the parallel plate capacitor. So it is known as capacitor. The unit of capacitance is farad. It is given its name in the honor of the English physicist Michael Faraday. From equation 6.1, that is this, we can derive or we can deduce the derivation, or we can say definition of the capacitance as a ratio of the charge stored at one of the plates divided by the voltage appeared across the plates. The ratio of the charge on one plate of the capacitor to the voltage difference between the two plates. It is measured in farads, and 1 farad will be equal to the 1 coulomb per volt. Although it seems that capacitance actually it is the ratio of the charge per plate to the applied voltage, but it does not actually depend upon the uh, Q or voltage. It depends upon the physical dimension of the capacitor. Actually, the capacitance is given by epsilon A by D, where A is the surface area of each plate and D is the distance between the plates, and E is the permittivity of the dielectric material which is placed between the two plates. So although 6.2 applies to parallel plate capacitor, we can conclude that in general three factors determine the value of capacitor. That is the permittivity, which is placed between the two plates, and the area of the plates where the charge may be stored, and the distance between the plates. The surface area of the plates, that is the first, that is A. The larger the area, the greater is the capacitance. More the permittivity of the dielectric material, more the capacitance. Lesser the distance between the plates, more will be the capacitance, or it may be other way around. You can decrease the area, capacitance will decrease, and other factors as well. Capacitors are commercially available in different values and types. Typically, capacitors have a value of picofarad. It's very small unit, or picofarad to microfarad range. They are described by the dielectric material they are made of and by whether they are fixed or variable. This is actually showing the figure of the capacitance of different types. This is the fixed one, where voltage plus and minus V appears across this and a current flows through this. Here, this arrow shows this capacitance is a variable type. Now to obtain the current voltage relation of a capacitor, we take the derivative of both sides of equation 6.1. 6.1 is given as this, and we know that I is equal to dq by dt. That means we have to take the derivative of this with respect to time and also derivative of this with respect to time. Differentiating both sides of 6.1 gives this is dq by dt, that is I. C, we are taking this to be constant independent of time. Its value is independent of time. That means it will be equal to, then I is equal to C by dt. That means the current that is flowing through the capacitance is given by the C multiplied by the rate of change of voltage with respect to time. And this voltage should appear across the capacitance. The current voltage relation for a this is the current voltage relationship for a capacitor, assuming the passive sign convention that you already know. The voltage current relation of the capacitor can be obtained by integrating both sides of 6.4. Simply by when we integrate this, we get 1 by C integral of I dt is equal to integral of dv, that is V. That is V of t will be equal to 1 by C integral of I dt. This is actually arbitrary constant dt d tau. So from minus infinity to t. So when I take it from t0 to t, that means we have to take some other values of the voltage as well, because this will come out to voltage. It will be equal to 1 by C. From infinity to t0, there may be some voltage which is appearing across this, and from t0 to t we are appearing other voltage, and in that case it will, the charge storage will enhance, it will increase. So what I mean to say is that where Vt naught is equal to Qt naught by C, the voltage across the capacitor at time is equal to t0 up to actually minus infinity to t0. So equation 6.6 shows that a capacitor voltage depends upon the past history of a capacitor current. This is very important, because here we are breaking this integral into two parts. One is from minus infinity to t0, that I have taken this, which is a constant value, or we can say initial value at t0, and from t0 to t we have to calculate it, and we can use this relation for t0 to t, and from minus infinity to t its value is equal to Vt naught. We may call it as initial value or the value at t naught. So we are actually exploiting this property of the capacitor because it's a memory type. It retains some charge. So in that case, this may be exploited as a memory of this of the capacitor. And this property exploitation of the capacitor has a very large, we can say, application in the day-to-day life. So the instantaneous power delivered to the capacitor given by the P, that is will be the multiplication of voltage across it and the current flowing, that is equal to C V into dV by dt. This is V is this, and this I will be equal to CV by dt. So the energy storage in the capacitor is therefore W, that will be the integration of the instantaneous power over the time period, that means minus infinity to t. So it will be equal to V dV by dt into t. Dt and dt will cancel out, so C is outside. It will be equal to, when V and dt will cancel out, this voltage will have changed its limits from V minus infinity to t. So it comes out to be equal to 1 by 2 CV square. So the limits will be Vt, and so the Vt means energy at Vt and energy at V is equal to minus infinity. V value of the voltage at t is equal to minus infinity. We know that V minus infinity is equal to 0. That means we assume that this capacitor is uncharged, so that there is no initial voltage in the capacitor. So in that case, this term comes out to be equal to 0. So only we get W, that is the energy stored, 1 by 2 CV square. We can have a CVT square as well, where Vt shows that it will change with time. If it is constant, that will be V square only. Now, since we know that this C is equal to Q by V, so it can be also written as in terms of this W is equal to Q square by 2C. So 9 or 10, it represents energy stored in the electrical field that exists between the plates of a capacitor. This energy can be retrieved, since an ideal capacitor cannot dissipate energy. It can be retrieved, it can be stored, and then it can be retrieved. Nowadays, this property of the capacitor is actually used to charge the battery, during which we don't have a power supply, so we can charge the capacitor, and then in turn, when the power supply is not there, it may charge the battery in that period. The word capacitor is derived from this element's capacity to store the energy in the electric field. Capacitor means to store the energy in electrical field. Now, there are certain important properties of the capacitor. From this equation, I is equal to C dV by dt. So I have written this equation again. It means when the voltage across the capacitor is not changing, that means when dV by dt is equal to 0, that when dV by dt is equal to 0, that means this voltage is not changing, it is a DC voltage. And there is a DC voltage, this I will be equal to 0. The current through the capacitor is 0. Thus, capacitor is in open circuit to the DC. So it means capacitor will be open circuit to the DC. However, if the battery DC voltage is connected across a the capacitor charged. There will not be any current flowing through this, but it charged. The voltage on a capacitor must be continuous. It is one more property of the capacitance. It must be continuous, because if it's not continuous, if it changes abruptly, you can see d by dt will be infinite. So we can say we need a charge or a current of infinite amplitude, or we can say magnitude, that charges the current, which is impossible in practice. The capacitor resists the abrupt change in voltage across it. So capacitor always resists the voltage change, instantaneous voltage change across it. So according to this equation, a discontinuous change in the voltage requires infinite current, which is physically impossible. We have a, we can say, continuous voltage across a capacitor. An ideal capacitor does not dissipate energy. It takes power from the circuit when storing energy in its field, and then return previously stored energy when delivered to the power circuit. So a real non-ideal capacitor has a parallel model leakage resistance as shown in figure. We actually model the practical resistance like this because we show a leakage resistance, because the practical resistance has some loss, leakage loss. That leakage loss is represented by a resistance parallel to this. So the leakage resistance may be as high as 100 mega ohm and can be neglected from the most practical applications. Since its value is very high, so leakage resistance is very high, leakage current will be very small, practical purposes it is neglected. So for this reason, that's why we will always assume capacitors to be ideal. Let us try to do some numericals to understand the capacitance better. Calculate the charge stored in the 3 picofarad capacitor with 20 volt across it. So we know that. Also find the energy stored in the capacitor. We know that Q is equal to C into V. C is given and V is also given. So we just have to multiply them to get the value of the charge stored. That is 60 picocoulomb. Now, how much is the energy stored in this? So energy stored will be equal to 1 by CV square. C is given, V is given. So this is actually a DC voltage. So we don't have a changing voltage. We don't have a changing voltage for here. It comes out to be equal to 600 picojoules. We can also use this value Q square by 2C. In that case also you will get this same value. Now let us assume that current to be of changing nature. Determine the voltage across 2 microfarad capacitor. The current through the capacitor is 6 e raised by minus 3000 t milliamperes. Assume that the initial capacitor voltage is 0. So it becomes very simple, because this V is equal to 1 by C integral from 0 to t I dt, because here we can assume this t not to be equal to 0, because this will be the starting time, and V0, since the initial voltage is given there, it is also given to be equal to 0. So I dt plus V0, it will be equal to only this term, so we need to integrate this term. So it will be equal to C is equal to 2 into 10 to the minus 6 integral 0 to t 6 e raised by minus 3000 t. So multiplied by 10 to the minus 3, it is of this milliamperes. So when we integrate it, you will get this value 1 minus e raised by minus 300 t. It is the value of the voltage across the capacitor, and you will see that it will reach to the value of 1 as time goes to infinity. Now we'll come to inductors. So we can see the inductors are the dual of the capacitor. They are again the passive elements which are used to store the energy in the magnetic field or electromagnetic field. Inductors also find very high applications in electronic and power system. They are used for power supplies, transformers, TV, radars, and electrical motors. Any conductor of electric current has inductive properties and may be regarded as an inductor. But practically their value of inductance is very small, and for practical purposes we neglect it. Otherwise, any conductor has its inherent inductance present. So we always take only that value which is very predominant. So inductance, a practical inductance look like this. We have a core, cross-sectional area has A, and over it we uh, wind a number of turns over it of a conducting wire, but they should be insulated from each other, because if they are not insulated, current will not follow this spiral path, it will follow this path. So it has a number of turns. The length of this core will be of length L, because usually they are the inductor. We can have an air core inductor where instead of a core, solid core, we have air, but generally we have iron core inductors where they are wound on the iron. The length of the iron core may be considered to be L, and the area of the iron core to be considered A, and the material is also important, and the number of turns. More the number of turns, more will be inductance. You will see why it's like that. An inductor consists of a coil of conducting wire. This wire should be made of the conducting wire. It should not be any insulator or anything else. So this material should be usually magnetic. This material core should be usually magnetic. We may have air core inductors as well. They have their own properties and own applications, but in most of the cases we have this core made up of iron or steel. So if the current is allowed to pass through the inductor, it is found that the voltage of the inductor is directly proportional to the time rate of change of the current. Using the passive sign convention, this voltage across the inductor is usually given to be equal to L di by dt. So where is L is the constant of proportionality called the inductance of the inductor. This is actually a derivation which we have, which is similar to that of the derivation of the capacitance, because in that case we say that the charge that is stored on one plate of the capacitor is proportional to the voltage. Here, the voltage across the inductor is proportional rate of change of current, and when we write them in terms of equation, it is equal to L di by dt, where L is the constant of proportionality. It is known as inductance of the unit of the inductance is Henry, named after the honor of the American inventor Joseph Henry. So 1 Henry is equal to 1 volt second per ampere. You can derive this unit from this: volt second ampere. That means 1 volt second per ampere. That is a Henry. Inductance is a property where when inductor exhibits opposition to the change in current flowing through it. As we saw in case of the capacitor, it has a property where it exhibits opposition in the change in the voltage. Inductance actually opposes the change in the current flowing through it. You can see it from this equation, because instantaneous change means di by dt will be infinite, and for that case we have to supply an infinite voltage to this, which is practically impossible. Or we can say a voltage will appear whose value is infinite, and it may practically damage the inductance itself or some other equipment as well. So practically inductance will not allow the instantaneous change of the current. It will allow the small change, or we can say slow change of the inductor current. That is one property of this. One more thing, the inductance of the inductor as the capacitance only depends upon the physical dimension and the construction. It does not depend actually on this current and other things, the value of the inductance. For calculating the formula for inductance, the formula given as n square mu A by L, where n is the number of turns, that is this coil, n square, it depends upon the n square, mu A by L. Mu is the magnetic permeability of this core, A is the area cross section of this core, L is the length of the core. So it depends upon the number of turns, it depends on the length of core, it depends upon the core material and the cross section area of the core. That is what this equation means. We can see from the inductance can be by increasing the number of turns of the coil using material with higher permeability as the core, increasing the cross section area, or reducing the length of the coil. Equation 6.18 is the voltage current relationship of the inductor, that is this equation. The current voltage relation can be simply found by integrating that equation. That means di is equal to 1 by L V dt, integrating I is equal to 1 by L from minus infinity to t v dt. As the capacitor has some property of storing the charge, storing the voltage, initial voltage. Here inductor has the property of storing the previous current. That's what this means, because we have changed the limits from t0 to t0, minus infinity to t0, we have taken it equal to equal to IT naught. That means the current at t is equal to t naught. Actually, this current should have been equal to 1 by L integral of minus infinity to this t naught Vt dt. We have assumed that to be equal to IT. It will be given. This is the air core inductor where there is no core. This is the iron core inductor that is shown by these two lines. This is the iron core inductor but variable one where the inductance is variable. This is the practical symbol, or we can say symbolic view of the inductor. The inductor is designed to store the energy in a magnetic field. So the power delivered to the inductor is given as P is to V into I, that is L divided by dt into I. So the energy storage will be integral with respect to time, that is integral of L divided by dt into I into dt. This dt and dt will cancel out. So this limit will change from minus infinity to, actually I of t should have been here, I di, it comes out to be 1 by 2 Li square, 1 by 2 Li square at minus infinity. If we assume that there is no initial current present in the inductor, this can be taken to be equal to 0. So the energy storage in the inductor will be equal to 1 by 2 Li square. We should note that the following important properties of the inductor. So note from 6.18 that inductor voltage is given by V is equal to L di by dt. If a constant current flows through the inductor, this di by dt will be equal to 0. That means voltage across the inductor will be equal to 0. So we can say that the voltage across an inductor, when a constant current flows through the inductor, the voltage across the inductor is 0, and we can deduce that an inductor acts like a short circuit to DC because constant current will be a DC current. So when a DC current flows through the inductor, it results in the 0 voltage, or it acts as a short circuit to the DC voltage. An important property of the inductor is the opposite to the change in current flowing through it. The current through an inductor cannot change instantaneously. That is also the absorption, or we can say observation of this equation, because di by dt when changed abruptly, this may be infinite, which is not practically feasible, and it may result in the damage of the circuit. So in that case, it results in this slow change in the current. So discontinuous change in the current through an inductor requires an infinite voltage, which is not physically possible. Like an ideal capacitor, the ideal inductor does not dissipate energy. The energy stored in it can be retrieved in the later time. So this is also used in terms of filters, in terms of energy storage elements, or anything else. So in that case, when we first store energy into the inductor, and after that we can retrieve it as for the need. The inductor takes power from the circuit when stored energy and delivers power to the circuit when returning previously stored energy. This is the actually symbolic representation of the practical inductor, where we can show some resistance in series with this, because practical inductors have some loss, but the value of this Rw, that is actually resistance of the winding, it is actually made of, this inductance is made of the winding itself, because the current flows through the winding, and the winding is made of copper or aluminum, usually made of copper, and the copper has a very small resistance, and that very small resistance for a practical purpose can be ignored. But practically, inductor can be shown like this. So we'll first have some insight of the inductance and about its property. So we'll try to do some numericals. The current through an inductor 0.1 Henry is IT is equal to 10 t e raised by minus 5t amperes. So this is the equation of the current flowing through the inductor. Find the voltage across it and the energy stored in it. So V is equal to L di by dt. L is equal to 0.1. That is 0.1 into d by dt of this. It comes out to be this. This is the value of the voltage across the inductor. So the energy stored is 1 by 2 Li square. L is this, I is this square. It comes out to be equal to 5t square e raised by minus 10t. This will also be a function of a time. This will also be a function of a time. Find the current through 5 Henry inductor if the voltage across it is 3t square for t is greater than 0, and it is 0 for t. That means initial value of the current is 0. Also find the energy at t is equal to 5 seconds, assuming IV, that is current, and the voltage will be greater than 0. Since I is equal to 1 by L, this from t naught to t, Vt dt, this IT naught, and plus I t naught, and L is equal to finally, that is 1 by 5 from 0 to t. We have to, because this from infinity to t naught is equal to 0, so it will go 30 t square dt plus 0, that is equal to 6 into t square t cube by t, because 5 1 5 6 are t cube by 3, and at 5 seconds this will be equal to, okay, so here we don't have to calculate the current at 5 seconds, we have to calculate the energy at 5 seconds. So this is the value of the current, which is a function of t at, which is a function of t. So now the power is given as V into I, that is equal to 60 t raised by 5, because power is given as, this is voltage, this is current, that is 60 into t raised by 5 dt. When we integrate it, it comes out to be t raised by 6 by 6. When we give the value of this t is equal to 5, it comes out to 156.25 kilojoules. So you can use this directly, 1 by 2 Li square as well. So 1 by 2 L I square will be this. This also comes out to be same value as obtained before. So these are two practical, homework problems. Try to do at your home. Here the current is constant from here to here. First you have to calculate, sketch the voltage waveform. You have to calculate voltage waveform from the same pattern, but you can calculate first and then draw the voltage waveform. Here instead of one value, you have been given a different value in different time intervals. So different time intervals, different values you can use, and then find the value of the this voltage. You can plot that voltage. Same is the case with the current. If the voltage waveform of the applied is applied to a 10 millihenry inductor, find the inductor current, assuming I0 to be equal to 0. I hope you will do this. I think this is enough for today. Thank you.